what we could do with objects is to illustrate a particular obstacle with a particular object, and the size of the object, because we can change the size, can represent how big or little it feels, as Toby's illustrating there. And we could also kind of think about it in a more temporal perspective. So we could order them on the table or in the room in front of us and say, well, which one do we need to think about first? And then Toby did a lovely thing whereby we thought, well, once you've kind of agreed the plan for that particular obstacle, you can literally just grab it and throw it away, which, gives a real kind of nice experience for kind of getting through stuff.
Cool.
So, so as I had mentioned, I'm in a functional health medicine coaching program. So energy to me, just like health came up, and mental energy and physical energy. And so I really think the metaverse could use visualization to basically energize people. In the same way, I think, yeah, well, not in the same way, but on a different scale, like vacations. You get away from your environment. You're in a whatever kind of place energizes you. Beautiful. And so, yeah, that was just basically it. Like, just even being here I almost feel like I can feel the fresh ocean breeze.
Nice. And if you were to bring an object into the room, Lisa, that represents your energy right now, what object would you bring in?
A seashell.
Nice. Tell me more.
You're sounding like a coach.
He has a habit of that.
I'm curious about the seashell. It's an interesting choice.
I think it's because I'm looking at, I think, the ocean, and I also live very, very near an ocean. But just I'm picturing bringing the seashell here, and even, I guess, bringing the ocean even closer, right? You can put it up to your ear. Well,
nice.
I think you can put it up to your ear with these on, but
yeah,
nice, just awesome. Super refreshing, and the sound is, kind of meditative, I think, and it smells like nature.
With the heart, we thought, wouldn't it be nice if the heart could beat? So if you started getting some more experiential elements of the objects as well. So I know you could go left and right. Yeah, exactly. But like if it, and actually
wow.
with Lisa's point, wouldn't it be nice if there were sound effects that went alongside that? And then with money, what we spoke about is you can do it with objects really easily, just like with environments, but you could have an object as to where, like, an object that represents how you currently feel when it comes to money being an obstacle with something, and then you could bring in another object which is how you'd want to feel. I mean, we were talking about like the feelings around money generally.
Nice.
So bringing in another object about what you would want your relationship with money to be like. And we spoke about you could do that both with your actual environment. So maybe to begin with, it would be like you'd sit together in a small meeting room with walls on it, and at the end of it, you're standing with like an expansive view, just like with this, about how you would want your relationship with money to be. And the same with objects. And then just one very small thing that we brought in as a general thing is, and I saw you doing at your end, but I really think there's something quite powerful with personal images of your family or friends or whoever like connects you with the subject matter. And there's something really nice and playful around how close or far away from them you feel right now. And what happens when, they're right in front of you and you can't ignore them, as opposed to where they are right now, which is they're like part of what you view as opposed to everything that you're viewing.
I think using objects to hold thinking. So, they're both representative of thinking, but they also allow us to disaggregate the obstacles in such a way that helps us to kind of methodically work through a challenge or an opportunity. And using them as a metaphor, whether they be big or small, really helps us to kind of communicate something.
Amazing. And we talked about how the sort of actual sensation of grabbing things is actually a little bit more realistic than you think, really.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously, as the technology develops, it will become even more sort of real. So actually grabbing things, we talked about sort of exercise is a different part of the brain, or like kind of just different sensation, really, that might help you think about problems from a new perspective. And then the final thing we talked about is also about, I guess, when I was using Horizon Worlds this morning, it was really amazing how everything was set up like an actual journey, like an environment. So this kind of obstacle grid actually is it like a maze you go through, or like a physical thing you walk through, you open doors, so we said that kind of the future, you're not just sat here, you're actually interacting with a world. And then Gary made a really good point, which was how much of this is brought in by the client versus provided by the coach. So I guess ultimately, as coaches, we want their client to create their own realities rather than it be created by the coach. So we talked about how in the future is there a possibility where the client is able to sort of choose from a catalogue of objects or design their own worlds, and you as the coach are just facilitating that. So lots of really kind of ambitious ideas, I think.